What's up, everybody? We're back. It's another episode of Havlicek Stole the Pod. I am your host, Alex Goldberg. With me, as always, is Dr. Justin Quinn and Daniel Donabedian. And we're bringing in a special guest today, Clemente Almanza of OKC Thunder Wire, covers the reigning champion Oklahoma City Thunders, and is a friend of the pod, both past and present. Clemente, how's it going with you, my man?
It's been going great, man. I mean, I'm sure you guys know, shorter off season with a championship run, a lot less free time. But yeah, just kind of enjoying this downtime that we're in right now in late August, early September. Training camp kicking off here in a little over a month, and we'll get right back to it.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, last year around this time, I felt obviously really good because the Celtics had won the title. But the thing that I felt was a palpable sense of relief, knowing that no matter what happens in the future seasons, we've seen our guys get it done. And I hope that you're feeling the same way, because the Thunder did indeed get it done. And based on what we're talking about later, there's a chance that they're going to get it done again and again and again. Daniel, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. I can sense the fall air here in New England. So I'm looking forward to that. It's my favorite season.
Oh, you and me both, brother. I am so with you there. Fall supremacy all day and all night. I like summer. Fall's better. Justin, What's going on, man?
I mean, I'm actually relishing the last bits of summer here in Mexico City, and I actually enjoy the heat, which, I mean, you'd think I'm in the perfect place for it, but at 8,000 feet, not so cool here, or not so hot, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we've all got some fun climates heading our way. New York is, of course, subtropical now, which is super, super joyous for me, but it is starting to cool off here as well. All right, let's get right into it. So we got a smidgen of news. It is still August after all, so there's really not much happening in the NBA news front. NFL's heating up, NBA not so much. For the Boston Celtics, Peyton Pritchard, fast PP, does not seem to care if he starts per an interview. He doesn't see this as a gap year either. That's with our colleague Noah Dalza. If you want to check that one out, Noah is the best, and she does great interviews with Peyton Pritchard and other Celtics. But I think the only kind of really notable thing here is that Peyton Pritchard seems to not care if he starts, which I guess is what you should say if you're the sixth man of the year reigning. Thoughts on that? Does Peyton Pritchard actually want to start? Does he need to start? Will he start? Let's just go around the horn. Clemente, you're up first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as in depth with the Celtics as you guys are, obviously, but just kind of from the outsider's perspective, it just kind of feels like he's just saying the right things in the moment. I think it's pretty obvious, just kind of looking at the Celtics depth chart, that he'll be a starter, bearing something crazy. And yeah, I mean, he'll be able to use this upcoming year to, I guess, really take advantage of those extra reps, see if he can have a career season, and, just kind of make the most of this opportunity that he'll have.
Dr. Quinn, anything to add there?
It's nice to hear someone who doesn't cover the team so closely look at the situation with Anthony Simons on the roster and come to a similar conclusion, I think, as all of us have, which is just that Peyton is the better player and he has earned it, so he deserves at least a shot to start.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I also think that, frankly, just for the Boston Celtics' long-term viability as a franchise, you kind of need Peyton Pritchard to not only start, but provide some value in that position, knowing that you're going to want to have some answers as to whether he is your long-term starting point guard. And I think this, if any, would be the year to test that out. Daniel, anything to add there?
Yeah, just that as for starting, I think I do believe him that he probably doesn't care. As for the second part of that, about it not being a gap year, I don't know if I fully believe he believes that. I think he's kind of just saying the right things and obviously not going out and saying, oh, it's going to be a down year. But I don't know if he truly believes that deep down.
I mean, that's fair. You're never going to catch any NBA player on a hot mic saying, we're going to be bad this year, and you should just expect us to be bad. That's not how those guys are wired. And usually if you make it to the NBA, you always think you're going to win every game no matter what. But yeah, no, I don't think Peyton's going to cop to this being a lost season. And if anything, I think for Peyton, it probably isn't going to be a lost season, regardless of the win-loss record. He's got a lot to prove here. Someone who doesn't have a lot to prove is Jayson Tatum, the Celtics' best player, who we will not be seeing anytime soon. But we did get a snap of his hairline. He has cornrows now. It's Allen Iverson time in Boston for Jayson Tatum's head. If anybody's wondering why we would be talking about Jayson Tatum's cornrows as top of the news section, well, folks, it's late August. That's just how it goes in late August. Other news that's happening, Bill Chisholm put out a statement regarding the purchase of the Boston Celtics, which he completed a week or so ago, along with Wyc Grousbeck, who sold the Boston Celtics to Bill Chisholm. Saying, echoing Peyton Pritchard's remarks that it is not a lost season. They're not playing for second, and he and Wyc are arm in arm in decision-making and guiding the future of the franchise to hopefully championships to come. Dr. Quinn, what is the smell detector test for Bill Chisholm's statement say?
Well, I think that it is generally in a similar category as what we were just hearing from Pritchard, all the right things, all that kind of stuff. But there's truth in it as long as what Wyc wants to do aligns with what the people paying the bills, mostly Chisholm, but as we recently learned this week as well, a lot of other venture capitalists and people who don't like throwing money into a fire just for the heck of it and may not share the same degree of fandom as he has. So as long as those interests align, I'm buying it. But if the rubber hits the road in a way that is not pleasant to the Chisholm group's liking, then I don't necessarily think it's going to be quite so arm in arm.
Daniel, any part of this statement that you're buying or selling on?
I'm curious about the arm in arm part. I wonder how involved Wyc will be, but I think it's good to hear regardless that he is going to be there in some facet because Celtics fans should trust him. I mean, he had a good track record when he was up top, I guess. And as far as trusting owners go, it's kind of hard to do sometimes, but Wyc has shown that he cares. And like Justin was saying, Bill's from Massachusetts too, so there's some roots there. And hopefully two invested owners will only help them in the future.
Clemente, from an outsider's perspective, you're looking at this arrangement of Bill Chisholm buying the Celtics, but still keeping Wyc Grousbeck, the former owner, on as a kind of team governor and apparently significant partner in the operations of the franchise. The Thunder have had basically the same ownership group for years now, and Sam Presti has been running the show basically the whole time. What are your thoughts kind of coming in from an outsider perspective on this?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get a sense of anxiousness just from reading Celtics reporters and reading Celtics Twitter about this ownership change. And that's usually the reaction and feeling most fan bases have whenever their professional team changes ownership groups, because I think most people understand like that's the lifeblood of your sports franchise, just how involved they are with the day-to-day, just how much they radically change how you guys operate your roster and payroll and all that. So there's a lot of wait to be seen, a lot of reactions from what I'm seeing online from Celtics fans. And we'll definitely see, like I said, this kind of reminds me of like what the Mavs have gone through. Like obviously Mark Cuban is no longer the owner of Dallas, but he's still kind of out there publicly speaking on behalf of the team. So maybe that's kind of a similar blueprint that the Celtics could take. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see when how an NBA franchise kind of operates whenever they change ownership groups, especially for a franchise as relevant and historic as the Celtics.
If there's one thing we know about Mark Cuban, it's that he likes to speak publicly and privately and all the time. Mark Cuban, that guy's a talker. Anyway, let's keep it moving. We just have we really have basically no other news to talk about. Jaylen Brown's dad got in some trouble. It is not good. We are not going to spend time with it. Please do not react in the manner that Jaylen Brown's dad did with regard to parking spots. That's just never going to be worth it. For what it's worth, Jaylen Brown seems like he does not have a tremendously close relationship with his dad. I don't really want to speak out of turn. I don't know Jaylen. I don't know his relationship with his dad. But, it doesn't seem like there's going to be significant blowback on Jaylen. But it's always weird when your family members are involved in things that they definitely should not be involved in. The only other news is no news. Al Horford is still waiting on Jonathan Kuminga's situation with the Golden State Warriors to resolve. And then once that resolves, presumably, according to basically every NBA reporter in the world, he is going to sign a deal with the Golden State Warriors, whether it's a full MLE, whether it's 2 years, 10 million, whatever it looks like. It sure seems like Al Horford is going to be looking at apartments in the Bay Area sometime soon. Maybe I'll catch him out there when Divine Sweater is on tour in September. But any thoughts on Al Horford? Clemente, you will probably more directly have to deal with the possibility of Al Horford on the Warriors, assuming that comes to fruition as a conference rival. What do you think that means for the Warriors and the reigning champs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice depth piece for the Warriors as well. It also means that they get even older a little bit. They're kind of up there with some of the older rosters in the league. Horford was here for a year in OKC during the whole, 2021 season, whenever there's no fans allowed in. But I don't know, like I said, solid piece, championship pedigree. Warriors continue to go all in within the last few years of Steph Curry's prime. Jimmy Butler, I like the Jimmy Butler addition that they had. He really provided a boost in the second half of the season. Draymond Green was in DPOY combos last year. I really like the direction Golden State is doing, and they're making the most of their situation where, like I said, they got Steph Curry, who's in the back end of his 30s, and you only got like maybe a couple more years left of him being a top 10 guy in the league.
So just a quick pivot here. Al Horford definitely did play for the Warriors and notably kind of took the entire second half of the season off and then came back to the Celtics with a lot of burst. Kemba Walker and I believe a first round pick and some other stuff was traded for Al Horford. Clemente, I don't remember. Who did that first round pick end up turning into?
Oh, man. I think they ended up trading that first round pick in the Ousmane Dieng deal in 2022 to New York.
Wow.
And I think that got rerouted somewhere. I don't know where it is nowadays, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the endless picks that the Thunder have had where, they ended up trading it away later on for even more future first round picks.
Any thoughts, fellas, on Al Horford's presumed signing with the Golden State Warriors and the delay that we have experienced with regard to that?
Not too much. I mean, we kind of expected this. Kuminga's still dragging his feet. I think he'll cave eventually, but hopefully if Horford does leave, which seems very likely, it'll be a nail in the coffin for this pretty rough offseason for the Celtics.
JQ, anything to add?
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to add to that is the person in charge of scheduling the podcast topics, at least for this particular topic, had to wait. Definitely not me. I don't know who it could possibly be. For a while to try to see this deal get done, and it could go into the regular season, I think, at this point, and I would not be shocked. So we kind of had to do it. So what I'm talking about, of course, is the closer look. Some old habits die hard. Yeah, not my first time doing that, but yeah. And I don't know. Before we do that, we kind of have a thing that we do. Alex?
That's true. Yeah, no, we have a new thing that's not lab related at all. It's the steal time, folks. Clemente, you're here. You're the guest. You're stealing the pod. What do you want to talk about, man?
Yeah, I kind of just want to, rant about the regular season schedule a little bit.
Do it.
Obviously, as we all know, the NBA is entering a new broadcast partnership with NBC, Amazon Prime, NBC, the biggest one, obviously. And I guess one of the quirks / changes of the upcoming regular season is that there's going to be some 10 p.m. Central Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time tip-offs this upcoming year, specifically in the West Coast. The Thunder have a couple against the Clippers and Warriors in November. And I mean, really, it's just a personal rant because, man, those 10 p.m., that's I've never seen an NBA game start off or tip off that late before. This is like a completely new territory with the
You
whole
non-East Coast people.
and like you guys have even more to complain about considering it's 11 p.m. Eastern time. So whenever the Celtics are on their annual West Coast road trip, like those are gonna be some pretty long nights. We already know that these tip-off times are more suggestions than required. There's probably gonna be you could probably got to add like an additional 15 minutes before the game actually tips off, and then with the national broadcast, you might add some more time with commercials and all that. So you're probably looking at a 1 a.m. ish type ending for a lot of these games for you guys and for me as well. And I mean, working in this industry, like it's a blessing, but man, those are gonna be some brutal nights where you basically have to pull an all-nighter, especially if the game's like super competitive and going back and forth in the final seconds.
As enjoyable as it might be to watch the reigning champs, I will probably not be doing a lot of that this season, given where we're headed. I certainly won't be watching a lot of Al Horford on the Golden State Warriors. Let's put it that way. Really quick, just an addendum. The pick that the Celtics traded for Al Horford notably became Alperen Şengün, and then that was traded to the Houston Rockets on draft night.
Oh.
Worth it. I think it was fine. Would like to have Alperen Şengün on the team, but Al Horford
Got a title.
So There you go. All right. So thank you for the steal there and for bringing us into the reality of East Coasters trying to watch West Coast games. Speaking of the West, the remainder of the pod, we're going to be talking about the Western Conference. We've done the Eastern Conference over-unders on a previous episode. Now we're going to take a closer look at the West. Clemente, that's why you're here. And given that you cover the Oklahoma City Thunder, given that they are the reigning champions, we're going to go out of order and start with them. The Oklahoma City Thunder, at their over-under, last year they won 68 games, which is a monster regular season total. One of the best regular seasons we've had in recent memory, before rolling to the title in a fairly dominant playoff run with a couple of hiccups here and there. But for the most part, the Thunder were the best team all of last year, and 68 wins proves it. This year, the over-under is still a pretty robust 62.5 wins. What do you think? Over or under for the Thunder in 62.5 wins?
I think that's a really good number. I think most people would go over, but I'll go against the grain here and pick a slight under and have them at 62 wins. Just because, like you said earlier at the start of the pod, like once you win a title, the regular season feels a lot smaller. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Thunder they're already kind of cautious last year with how they treated the regular season. Like, obviously, Alex Caruso was basically load managed the whole year. Didn't really play a ton of back-to-backs. Same with Chet for different reasons as he came back from a hip injury. But I don't know. I just feel like the Thunder, they've had the first seed back-to-back years. I could definitely see them, maybe being a little bit more cautious with sending some of these guys out during the regular season, especially in these rough stretches where they're playing every other night for the months of January and March and April. So I think I picked the slight under. I think they'll win at 62. They'll win 62 games. But yeah, like I said, I know most people would probably hammer the over for sure on this one.
Dr. Quinn, Daniel, you're up. Over or under 62.5 wins for the Oklahoma City reigning champion Thunder?
I will go as far as to say I'm going to go even a little bit more under. I think they're going to be around a 60-win team, but they might not even make 60 wins. I think they're going to be somewhere between 59 and 61 wins. And the reason I say that is not just what Clemente mentioned, which is very true about the regular seasoning, regular season mattering less, but also the disease of more, which is when role players think that they should now have a bigger role, right? They want a title. And all of the stuff that comes along with being the hunted rather than the hunter combine, as we saw with Boston, very disappointingly, make the regular season and the habits that can come with that a lot more fraught. So for this, I think I'm just going to go even a little under where Clemente's at.
Daniel, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to actually say slightly over. Chet barely played last season, and they still hit 68 wins. Like, that's pretty impressive. I think this line is fair, though. Like 62 sounds like a pretty good number. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe like a slight bump. I don't know, 63, 64. I could see them being the top seed again. But yeah, given the fact that they didn't even have their full rotation and they still nearly hit 70 wins, I feel like it's not out of the question that they'll crack 60 wins again, too.
I think these are all fair points. I'm going slight under. I have them around 59-ish wins. And my case is twofold. One, absolutely right about the attrition, the disease of more, just the grind of the regular season. Despite Chet being out for a good chunk of last year, the Thunder's health luck outside of that was relatively good. SGA did not really miss much time. J-Dub had some stuff in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he was pretty reliable on a night-to-night basis. Hartenstein had a couple of dings here and there, but nothing crazy. And the Thunder's depth was able to kind of churn through that. I don't know that we can necessarily bet on that same health luck again, but the real and I think biggest reason that it's going to be much harder for the Thunder to get to that level is the West is just better. I just think that the Western Conference has taken a pretty serious jump up, and we're going to get into a little bit of that right now. I have them at 59 wins. One of the teams that I definitely think is going to be getting better heading into this year, but I will try not to spoil it. Dallas Mavericks, starting things off, their over-under is 40.5 wins. They had an incredibly tumultuous season, trading Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis and Max Christie. Fire Nico chants at every game, generally chaos, Kyrie Irving tearing his ACL, all of these things happening. And yet they wind up with Cooper Flagg and the number one pick. And they roll into this year with, I think, a sneaky, intriguing roster. Justin, make the case over or under 40 wins for the Dallas Mavericks.
I actually think this is a pretty well set line here. The Russell addition, I think, makes this not a tanking team. The lack of competent high-level ball handlers without him before they added him made it look like they might just tank, which I don't think they controlled their pick this season either, if I'm not mistaken. So that would not be particularly useful for them. But as things stand now, I'm going to go just a little bit under, like 40 wins, but only just because we have no idea what Kyrie's going to be like when he gets back.
Clemente, what do you think? Are the Mavs primed for a bounce-back season?
Yeah, I'm a little comfortable also going under. I think they'll finish in around mid-30s wins. I just think they just have way too many variables that have to go right for them to kind of reach this. I mean, Cooper Flagg, like, even if he has one of the best all-time seasons for a rookie, like, that still doesn't guarantee you'll be winning 40-plus wins. Anthony Davis, like, we know, like, he's in and out the lineup all the time. Kyrie Irving, he might miss most of the season or the entire season. I like what they've built for the following year when everybody should be back healthy and Flagg has a year under his belt. But for this year, I think they'll probably be like a mid-30s wins type team. Maybe they can sneak into the play-in tournament, and from there, maybe they can get the 7th or 8th seed. But yeah, I'll pick the under for sure.
Daniel, what are your thoughts on the new look Mavs?
Yeah, I'm going to actually say over. Obviously, they got Cooper Flagg, and I think that's going to be a huge benefit. I think the questions about Anthony Davis's health are valid. But, I mean, they won 39 games last season, and they had a second half of the season from hell. Like, everything you're saying, Alex, the Luka stuff, the ownership troubles, like so much drama, so much chaos, and yet they still won 39 games. I think they can do better than that this year, even without Kyrie or with injury question marks. So, yeah, I think a slight over, but yeah.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I just think their roster is a little better than it was the second half of last season. Obviously, missing Kyrie hurts, but Kyrie really missed a good chunk of last year as well. I like Max Christie. I think he's a fun, energetic player. I don't think of him as like, a long-term great all-time player, but he's a solid starter. Anthony Davis, he missed a good chunk of last year. He's probably going to miss a good chunk of this year. But I like their center depth. I like their wing depth better with Cooper Flagg in the fold. What it really comes down to for me is just I really think Cooper Flagg is going to be a incredibly good rookie and a very high level NBA player right out of the gate. Haven't really seen anything to suggest that he's not going to be. He had a kind of early dud in summer league and then proceeded to play so much better that he was pulled within 2 games. That guy's ready for the NBA and he's going to be pretty darn good, I think. Not a D'Lo guy, but whatever. Another team that got pretty aggressive this summer, the Denver Nuggets, who many people think are going to take a big bounce back. Their over-under is 53.5 wins after last year's tumultuous season in which they still chugged along to 50 and arguably gave the Thunder the hardest fight they had in the playoffs. Clemente, what do you think about your expectations for the Denver Nuggets this year?
Yeah, this is also another good number, 53.5. I think I'll take the slight under, but I do think that they're a much better team this year than they were last year. I just think Denver is one of those teams that really, frankly, doesn't really care much about the regular season. They've won a championship. Jokic is going to have another MVP type season again. But I think they're more built for the playoffs, like we saw last year, where they went the distance against OKC in 7 games in round 2. But yeah, I definitely like the moves they made. Cam Johnson is a better 2-way player than Michael Porter Jr. is. Valanciunas is a solid backup center that they really didn't have before. Deron Holmes is another guy who's coming back as well, who missed all last year of a torn Achilles. And Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. are nice veteran wings to have on your bench. Like I said, I really like the moves Denver made. I really think they kind of fortified their depth, which was their biggest weakness last year, and ultimately led to their playoff exit. All that said, though, I think they'll probably be like a 52, 53 win team just because, frankly, they just seem like a team that really doesn't prioritize regular season wins and would rather be healthy going into the playoffs.
I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm hammering the over on the Denver Nuggets. I think this is one of my favorite picks heading into this season. I think we are severely underestimating just how bad and chaotic Denver's roster was outside of Jokic last year. Michael Porter Jr. did not have a very good season. He looked like a shell of himself. Cam Johnson is not only a better salary, but frankly, a better basketball player than Michael Porter Jr. at this point in their careers. Jonas Valanciunas addresses by far their biggest need, which was backup center. They just had absolutely nothing at that position last year with Holmes out. Zeke Naji is just not good enough to hold down a significant spot as your backup center. And now they enter this season. They know who their coach is. It's David Edelman. They gave him an extension. That's not going to change anytime soon. They have a more talented roster. I like the Tim Hardaway Jr. for the minimum addition. I like the Jonas Valanciunas addition. I like bringing back Bruce Brown, even though he's not what he used to be. He can still be an impactful wing defender. The big thing for me, though, is that this roster is designed to give Jokic some precious minutes off the floor where he can actually rest. The amount of stuff that Nikola Jokic had to do to keep this team afloat last year was truly mind-boggling. And I think, to his credit, he did an incredible job. He was firmly in the MVP race, and Denver really gave OKC their hardest bout in the playoffs. But this Denver team is better. I think they're going to win more regular season games. And I think I'm even potentially ready to say that I think they're going to challenge for the number 1 overall seed in the entire NBA with things the way they are. They still have some trades to make. They still have some salary that they can move around at the deadline for, I don't know, maybe a high impact scoring guard or something like that. But I really like this Denver team, and I think I'm taking the over pretty strongly. Justin?
Don't have too much to add to that. I completely agree. And we didn't mention Peyton Watson or Julian Strother, who were asked to do way too much previously. Now they're going to be taking on a role that is the size of where they are in their careers, which will enable growth. So they could come out of this growing internally as well. I just don't see any scenario where they score under this line. And they could. Their ceiling is in the range I think that you put it at. But even if it's not quite that good, they are very clearly the second best team in the West, if not the best.
Daniel, anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I'm saying over 2. I mean, I think they arguably had the best offseason of any team. And, I mean, you guys kind of covered it, but they also just still employ Jokic, who I think is the best player in the game still. So, yeah, not much more to say than that.
Clemente, I'm sure you have thoughts on who the best player in the game is, but we'll save that for a little bit later. We mentioned Al Horford earlier. The Golden State Warriors are presumably going to be signing Al Horford and attempting to add him to their team and get over the 48-win season that they had last year. But Vegas does not necessarily agree. They have them at 46.5, taking a slight dip. Daniel, you go first. Golden State Warriors, 46.5 wins. What do we think?
Yeah, I think actually slightly under. I mean, so far at the moment, they haven't done like anything this offseason. And yeah, we're thinking Horford's going to come, but really all they've done is just get older. I mean, Curry is still great, not denying that, but he's older, more health issues are popping up. Jimmy Butler's older too. He didn't even look that great at times in the playoffs too when he had to lead. So nothing about that makes me think they're gonna like shoot past that mark from Vegas. So I'm gonna say a bit under.
Clemente, what do you think? Are the Golden State Warriors bouncing back or falling further?
Yeah, I'll go over for sure. I like what they did since the trade deadline. They had one of the best winning percentages in the whole league, and I really think that if Steph would have stayed healthy and Jimmy would have stayed healthy in the playoffs, then I think they would have ended up going to the West Finals and beating that Minnesota team. Like I said, I really like the fit with Steph and Jimmy. I really think those two guys really complement each other well, and then you throw Draymond in there as well. I'll definitely go over for sure. I don't think they'll reach the 50 win mark, but I definitely think they'll finish around the 47, 49 win mark for sure.
JQ, what do you think?
I think, as I was alluding to earlier in the show, that a lot depends on the Horford signing. They really have about a big man and a quarter worth of big man between him and Draymond if they do sign him, and they are still pretty weak against stouter front courts. I think if they do sign Horford, I'm going to go a slight under. I think if they don't, I'm going to go way under, like a good 6 games or so under, just because, as Daniel mentioned, health is an issue with these guys. Age is an issue with these guys. That's a bad combination with so many old players where it's not just like you have 1 or 2 old veterans. Pretty much the entire team is older, and some of them are going to miss large chunks. And when you're as old as that is, and this is going to apply even more so to another team in this conference, even if you have guys behind them like this unnamed other team, there is the situation where the people who have to pick up those minutes and exertion and so on tend to be outside of their roles even more so, and that in turn opens up the possibility for even more injuries down the road. So I'm very skeptical of this and another older team who is definitely not maybe the Clippers. Yeah, Clippers. Anyway.
They're so interesting because they loaded up on defense. I'm assuming Horford's going to sign there. They've got, Draymond Green. They've got Al Horford. They've got Jimmy Butler. These are all high-level defenders, really high IQ guys. You have to think that their defense is going to be rock solid. But to me, they didn't address their biggest issue, which is that outside of Steph, there's not a consistent scorer on this team. Jimmy Butler is good at scoring in spurts. He can get free throws, he can get contact, but he's not exactly like a bucket getter in this stage of his career, maybe earlier, but that burst, that athleticism is just not quite there. And the shooting percentage has just kind of slowly ticked down year after year after year. To me, what it comes down to is this Warriors team outside of Steph Curry really lacks some offensive punch. And I don't know that Al Horford is going to help with that. What they were hoping would help with that is Jonathan Kuminga. But the vibes around that, folks, are extremely bad. If Jonathan Kuminga stays with this Golden State Warriors team, I don't think he's going to play a whole lot. And I don't think he's going to be a fun guy to be around. If he gets traded for value, maybe that changes things. the Sacramento Kings would like a word, for example. But until that Kuminga trade happens and until we know what the terms of that trade are, assuming that he just takes the qualifying offer and then they just sign Horford and try to throw DeAnthony Melton in there or something, to me, I think it has to be a slight under. I just can't get there with the lack of scoring punch. But we'll see. Steph Curry has made me eat my words before. Another player who's made me eat my words is Kevin Durant, who joined the Houston Rockets. Vegas has the Rockets at 54.5 wins. Last year, they had 52 wins. And then they added one of the best all-purpose scorers in NBA history for basically nothing outside of Jalen Green. Clemente, are we buying?
Oh, yeah, this is easy. I'll take the over here. I love what the Rockets did this offseason. I think they made the biggest move all offseason, adding KD. And I think they'll end up being probably a top 2 seed in the West, flirting with, high 50s wins for sure. Like you said, like they had, the second best defense in the league last year behind OKC. They rode that to the second seed in the West, lost in the first round. But it was painfully obvious that the biggest thing that they needed on the roster was a go-to scorer. And Durant's like, textbook go-to scorer, even at this stage of his career at 36 years old and post-torn Achilles and all these other injuries that he's dealt with over the years. But, yeah, I really like the move from KD to Houston. And I think they'll be winning a ton of regular season games. And I really like what else they did the rest of the offseason. I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith is a really good wing that they added. They double-dip with the centers with Steven Adams and Clint Capella to kind of back up Alperen Şengün. I think Reed Shepherd is going to thrive playing next to somebody like KD. Jabari Smith's really good as well. Amen Thompson, like he could be a potential first-time All-Star this year if everything goes right. I just really like everything that the Rockets have kind of built up, and I really think they're probably going to be the second-best team in the West, third-best team in the West behind OKC and maybe Denver.
Daniel, what do you think about the H-Town gang? What do we think?
Yeah, I agree with what Clemente said. I mean, I think this is a pretty fair line, but they're going to be really good. I would say over. And I wanted to highlight Clint Capella too. I feel like that was a sneaky good addition from them. But yeah, their big thing was their defense was really good and they couldn't score. They got KD, so it's pretty simple. I think over.
Dr. Quinn?
The only thing that I will dissent is this is the West. If what we said collectively about the other 2 teams we think are going to be in the top 3, I don't think there's going to be this many wins for them on the table, but just barely. So I'm going to put it at 54 wins and a very slight under.
I think I'm taking closer to Justin's point of view, but a slight over. And the big reason why, to me, actually has less to do with Kevin Durant and more to do with the continued growth of Amen Thompson, who was one of my absolute favorite breakout players last year. Folks, that guy is really good at basketball, and he is only going to get better. I would argue Amen Thompson is already one of the top 10 defenders in the NBA with prototypical wing size, and he showed some serious athleticism off the dribble with Durant opening up the floor, with Reed Shepherd opening up the floor, with more shooting in general. I think that guy is primed for another super dangerous breakout season. So for me, it's a slight over. The West is really hard, but I think they've added talent. I think they've gotten better. The real thing for me with Houston is that they strike me as a much more dangerous playoff team heading into this year. Another team that made the playoffs and won a decent amount of games last year, the Los Angeles Clippers also added a bunch of players in the offseason, most notably Brook Lopez, and they reunited with their old friend Chris Paul, who is back for another round in LA. Additionally, they also threw on John Collins in what I think is a sneaky, pretty good trade. And they added Bradley Beal, who was waived and stretched by the Phoenix Suns, and now he gets to chill with a lot of money in the City of Angels. Last year, the Clippers won 50 games. This year, Vegas has them under that at 48.5. Daniel, make the case. Why are the Clippers better or worse than 48.5?
Yeah, I think I'm on Justin's side here. Yeah,
you're right.
I know what Justin's going to say. I'm going to say under 2 on this. They're just really old. I mean, it's funny looking at all their stars. Like a few years ago, this team would be insane. Like Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, Harden, Kawhi, but they're just a few injuries away from pretty much disaster. I still think they'll be a playoff team, and I mean they have good leadership too, so I still think they'll be like solid, but I don't think they're gonna surpass this win total.
JQ, Daniel purports to take the words out of your mouth. Anything to add, or did he get them?
I mean, I'm not sure what else there is to say. This team is better balanced in terms of the positions that people play and the contributions they're going to be giving to the team, but they're just so old, and none of them, other than Collins, has any like regular history of being like a close to 82 game player, and even he has had some pretty rough seasons over the years. So I just don't see how you can look at this team and their collective history of availability and see them as much better than maybe. I think they're pretty much a shoo-in to make the top 6 in the West, but like after that it gets a bit fuzzy because again, an injury to one of their healthier guards could really. I mean, like Bradley Beal, like when is the last time he played more than like 65 games? I can't remember. So rather than sit here and just rant about their ages, I'm just going to say that they're probably going to exceed my expectations. But if it wasn't for the Clippers existing, what other team would we get excited about every offseason?
Right. Clemente, thoughts on the Clips?
Yeah, I think I'll take a slight under. I think they'll probably have a similar type of season like they had this past year, where they're a top 6 seed, competitive team. The only real change is that it's a completely different cast of supporting characters. Chris Paul, John Collins, Brook Lopez is another guy they added. But yeah, like I said, I think it'll probably be a similar type of season. James Harden will probably make an All-Star game. Kawhi will have his moments. There'll be a tough first-round exit. But yeah, like I said, probably more or less of what they did last year.
I think I'm going to lean slight over. And the reason I'm going to lean slight over is because, one, I really like the John Collins trade for them. I think he adds an element of verticality that they had in spurts, but didn't really have consistently over the course of last year. And frankly, Chris Paul and James Harden, those guys just churn out wins. Their attention to detail, their rigor, their borderline psychotic personalities. Those guys are regular season wins machines, and they just do it every single year, it seems like. I think Ty Lue's going to have a blast with them. I don't know about this team's playoff viability that much. It strikes me that they're relying on a lot of things to go right for them that typically don't go right for the Clippers. But in terms of regular season, I just think they're going to churn out wins. Harden is just so good at that over the course of the regular season, and so is Chris Paul. The other LA team, Los Angeles Lakers, had a tumultuous offseason. Obviously, in the prior season, they added Luka Doncic, which should help, along with the fact that Luka Doncic, according to every single basketball publication in the world, is really in shape, guys. Check out how in shape Luka Doncic is. Look at his cover of him on Men's Health. He's looking good. They also added DeAndre Ayton for, well, basically nothing. And Jake LaRavia, yeah. And there's also just the specter of LeBron's free agency hanging over all of this. Los Angeles Lakers are currently projected 48.5 wins, which is a slight drop from their 50-win season last year. JQ, what do we think about this Lakers team?
It's really hard to believe in a team with DeAndre Ayton and a disaffected LeBron being two of the, shall we say, bigger themes heading into the regular season. And we have seen that Luka has gotten very healthy ahead of a season, only to by midseason not really look very healthy. But I do think that some of the, I don't know if it's fat shaming exactly, but the conditioning shaming of Luka, particularly one that got him involved in one of the most ludicrous trades in the history of the NBA, should have some lasting motivating power to it. I can't get excited about Ayton. When he becomes a winning player, I will start believing. But for now, the only thing that I think is important is that he can catch lobs, and Luka likes to throw them. So that will be interesting. I think this is a pretty good line at 48.5 games. I'm going to go slightly under just because I have a hard time believing that this team is going to be that much better than last year's. They could be. I would probably eat these words. They have some more supporting depth as well that actually does things. But yeah, I think it's going to be a slight under for me.
Daniel, what do we think about the hated arch nemesis, the Los Angeles Lakers?
Yeah, honestly, I think this was the hardest one that I looked at from the West. I was going back and forth. I'll give them a slight over. I think their roster got better, and I mean, as Celtics Nation knows, they got Marcus Smart, which helps. I'm still not sold on their defense, though, despite the fact that they got Smart. Like Justin was saying, Ayton, kind of a question mark. LeBron's only getting older. Luka, not known for his defense at all, and neither is Austin Reeves. But I still think, on the whole, they're better. Center was definitely their biggest weakness, and they've kind of addressed that. But yeah, I don't see them going much further than their projected win total.
Yeah, Clemente, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they go over. Like Justin said, I know Luka's public opinion's probably at an all-time low right now, but he's still a top 5 guy in the league. I think he's a walking 50 wins by himself. Everywhere he's gone to, he's produced a winner and with the Mavs, and even last year to the Lakers. And now that he has a full off season to, I guess, really get used to playing with the Lakers and to get used to playing with LeBron and all his new teammates. I like going over here simply because, I mean, Luka's like a top 5 guy in the league.
Yeah, this is a really tough one. I do think their roster improved, and I do think there's a good chance that Luka will bounce back. The one thing I will say is I have real questions about this Lakers defense. It made me like the fact that they had that run after they traded Anthony Davis and, kind of in midseason, it just felt a little fake, for lack of a better word, that JJ was kind of putting things together with bubble gum and string and rubber bands and making it happen. I'm not sure I buy it. To me, it feels like it's a slight under. I think the team is better oriented for the future because there's a lot of optionality around Luka, but I don't know that that's going to be hitting this season. I think it's going to take a couple of roster building cycles for the Lakers to achieve their final form in the new Luka era. Here's what we're going to do. We have 2 more teams that I really want to specify and drill down on. So we're going to go a little out of order and do those 2, and then we're going to go speed round for the remaining teams. One of those teams is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Last year, they won 49 games, and they had a pretty strong playoff run. They knocked out the Los Angeles Lakers. They gave a pretty darn good fight against, I guess they knocked out the Warriors as well. And then they made it to the Western Conference Finals again. This time around, they faced a Thunder team that made pretty short work of them, let's be real. That being said, many people think that this team got better. I believe, let's see, who's the French kid that they added? Béranger, is that right? Or am I thinking of the other French kid? Pause for 1 second while we look up.
Béranger, yes. Big man.
Yes.
I'm thinking guard for some reason. Yeah.
So Béranger has had an excellent summer league. A lot of people think that he's, potentially ready to carve out a nice little rotation role behind Nasri, Rudy Gobert, and Julius Randle. They have a huge front court now. Mike Conley is another year older. We'll see what happens with that point guard position. They also lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who had a very good season for them last year. Clemente, what do you think of this Western Conference challenger in the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of looking back at the playoff run, I was never really the biggest believer of it. It definitely felt like it was one of those deep playoff runs where luck played a big role in it, especially with the Warriors second round series. And then they kind of got shown in the West Finals just how big of a gap there is between them and the top of the West of OKC, beating them in 5 pretty easily. That said, though, I think I'll pick a slight under here. They didn't really do a whole lot in the offseason. They lost a key piece in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who was probably a top 5 guy on their team in the West Finals. Maybe Anthony Edwards can take another leap here, since he's still so young. I don't know. I think I'll pick a slight under. I think they'll be a good competitive team, and then maybe in the playoffs, they can receive a little bit an easier road again. But like I said, I wasn't really the biggest Minnesota believer with their playoff run. I really think they're probably one of the easier of the 4 opponents OKC faced in the playoffs. And it kind of showed in the results.
All right. What do we think about the Wolves, JQ?
I think that Mike Conley is old. And Nickeil and Alexander Walker was probably their best defender that is not a big man. Those two things combined with a lack of any real alternative to Conley emerging at this point, so far, it could still happen, means that this team is going to lose more games than it did last year, maybe a lot more games. I think that they have a very solvable problem in that they need another distributor that isn't 38 years old and eminently targetable when he's on the court. I'm going to go a pretty significant under, like 3 games under what they have. I think I'm going like 47, maybe even 46 wins.
Whoa. Okay. Significant under. Daniel, what do you think? Anything to offer there as far as counter opinions, or are you in agreement?
I'm pretty much in agreement. I'm saying under 2. I'll put it more slight like Clemente, but I don't think they got better. And like Justin was saying, they lost some of their defensive toughness. And speaking of toughness, the West just got better. So I don't think that will help them. And yeah, maybe Ant enters the MVP conversation and really helps them. But at the moment, I would be surprised if it was over.
Interesting. I think this is tough. I think I'm going to go slight under. I don't think it's going to be that much, but I think they're going to be just a little under, and I think it's mostly going to be the result of just the West getting better and the Wolves kind of staying in a similar place. To me, Berenger could be a really good long-term piece for them. I'm not sure that he's necessarily going to pop immediately. The Mike Conley thing really worries me. I just think they need to address that point guard position in a real way long-term. And I'm not sure that they've got it quite yet, but we'll see. We're going to spend a little more time on this next team, and then we're going to just rapid fire for the remaining teams because, frankly, I think we all know what's going to happen with a lot of them. But the other team we need to talk about is the San Antonio Spurs, who, among other things, drafted Dylan Harper, number 2 overall. They also drafted, what's his name? Big wing guy. He's good. Anybody got me here while I look this up?
I forget. I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember.
Carter Bryant. Yes.
Carter Bryant.
Bryant.
Thank you.
Who a lot of people really like and think is going to be a good player. Notably, they added former Celtic Luke Cornett to their front court. And, also threw in Kelly Olynyk a little bit for good measure there. They said goodbye to Chris Paul. Justin's man, Stefan Castle, is still on the team, along with the return of Victor Wembanyama, who has had an awesome offseason going to China, studying with monks, leaving snippy comments on people's Twitters, training with Kevin Garnett. What do we think about Big Vic and the new look San Antonio Spurs with extended De'Aaron Fox for good measure? Clemente, you're up first.
Yeah.
I just think, sorry, their over-under for this year is 43.5, which would be a big old jump from last year when they clocked in at 34 wins.
Yeah, I just think we're at a point at the NBA where one guy can't carry you to a ton of wins like they used to. And even if Wemby ends up being, an all-NBA type talent, an MVP candidate like we all expect him to, and he can stay healthy and get past this blood clot issue that cut his season short last year. I just don't think they have enough, actualized NBA players on the roster to get to, 44 plus wins here. De'Aaron Fox, is a nice addition, but the rest of the roster is super young. Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, Jeremy Sohan, they got a super young roster. And as we usually see with super young teams, they end up losing a ton of games in the beginning stage. I still think they're probably like a year or two away. They really got to figure out like who else is gonna join 1B in terms of like being a second go-to scorer, third go-to scorer on the San Antonio team. So all that said, I think they'll go slightly under for sure.
Daniel, what do you think about the new look Spurs?
Yeah, I agree. I said slight under too. I think they're definitely going to win more than 34 games. Like from last year, they'll improve past that. I just don't think it's going to be, what did we say, 43.5? Yeah, I don't think they're going to go that high. Blood clots are kind of scary. I don't know if you can guarantee Wemby's going to be healthy. And like we've been saying, the West is talented and they're more experienced than the Spurs too, I would say, for the most part. Adding Luke doesn't hurt. But yeah, I don't think they're going to take that colossal of a jump.
JQ, what do you think? Are we ready to buy on the Spurs?
I am. I'm not going to be as excited for a team with a UConn player on it as one might think. But I do think that they're going to hit this line and just barely go over, like 44 wins. I think that the addition of Cornette is not a minor addition. I think that Olynyk still has stuff to give as well. I think that Castle is going to grow as a player. He was already showing pretty consistent lines of a third or fourth option already at this stage in his career. And while they don't have another go-to scorer, I think that we were already talking, it's like, yeah, all NBA, but also an all NBA guy who was threatening for defensive player of the year. And that is like the same person, right? So if he is healthy, which is, again, a big if, he's coming back from a pretty serious operation. We don't know what his condition is going to be like. There is a chance that I really eat this one, but I do think that a slight over is not unreasonable on this one, but that's probably close to their ceiling.
I'm taking the over. And the reason I'm taking the over has little to do with their offseason additions and more to do with just Victor Wembanyama's growth as a player. The third year is often where guys make the leap from very good player to, they're going to be on the all-NBA team every year for the next 15 years. If they're going to make that leap, it usually happens around now, and usually there's a big corresponding jump in wins. I don't know that this Spurs team has the talent to win in the playoffs. I don't know that they have the talent to go head-to-head with the top dogs in the West, but I think they're going to win a lot of regular season games, and I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be a firm all-NBA candidate heading into this year. We're going to go rapid fire for the remaining teams. The Memphis Grizzlies traded Desmond Bane for a bunch of stuff, including KCP and some other things. They won last year 48 games, and then they fired their coach, and now they have a new coach, and Vegas has them at 40.5 around the horn. JQ, over, under, Memphis, go.
They are probably not a very good team in a very good conference, but I think that 40.5 wins is a little low for them. I'm going to go slide over.
Clemente, Memphis Grizzlies, what do you think?
I'll take under easily. They're kind of a mess, straight up.
Daniel, the Grizz, over, under, 40.5 wins.
Yeah, I also thought slight over. I mean, they still got Jaren Jackson and Ja. I don't think they're going to be a true contender, but 40.5 feels a little disrespectful.
I'm out. I don't think this team is very good. I think they're going under. I think 40.5 seems right, but I think I'm going to take the under. I'm going to be a little bit of a Grizz pessimist, which means, of course, that they'll win 50 games. The New Orleans Pelicans, let's see, what did they do this offseason? They traded up for Derek Queen. That's what they did. And Vegas has them at 30.5 wins. Last year, they won 21 games. Obviously, Zion Williamson's whole thing is hanging over this team. They traded Brandon Ingram middle of last season. 30.5 wins. I'm going to go first. This team stinks. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA. I'm taking the under. Talk me out of it, anybody.
How about they should be considerably healthier than they were last season? I think Herb Jones and DeJounte Murray are going to be back. I'm not 100% sure on that off the top of my head, but pretty sure they're going to be back at the start of the season. If that's the case, I think they could do better than 30.5 wins. I'm supposed to be talking you out of it, but I think it's going to be a slight under, like 30 wins. I don't think they'll be one of the worst teams in the NBA. They're still a pretty bad team, but that's my best effort of talking you out of it while making it an under as well.
Clemente, Daniel, what do we think? Over or under?
I think I'm on your side here. Look, I love Jeremiah Fears. Went to OU. I went to OU. Rooting for him for sure. But if you're going to give an 18-year-old the keys to your franchise, which it kind of feels like that they're doing here with him as the starting point guard, then you better expect a ton of losses. So I'll definitely go the under for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to say under too. I mean, just because of Zion, he's their star. He doesn't seem that invested. Is he healthy? Who knows? Feels like it's not going to happen. I don't know. I don't see them reaching that mark.
Yep. Well, I'm in agreement with y'all for the most part. It's under, and I think it's a pretty hard one for me. Let's keep it moving. The Phoenix Suns got rid of everybody. Kevin Durant is out of the door. Bradley Beal is out of the door. They added Jalen Green and some other stuff. Man, this Phoenix Suns team, 32.5 wins per Vegas. And last year they won 36 games, which felt like a triumph given how chaotic their season was. Clemente, you're up first. 32.5 wins, Phoenix Suns, over under.
This is another easy under. They gave Devin Booker an extension, but I don't know. It just kind of, I don't know what they're doing. They're kind of a mess as well. And it just kind of feels like they're kind of delaying the inevitable where Booker eventually gets traded and they get a full-blown rebuild.
JQ, Daniel, what do we think?
I don't see how we could have a lower line on the Pelicans than this team. They're very, very bad. I don't understand how they are supposed to work on the court. They're going to win. Like, if they crack 20 wins, I'm going to be impressed. So way under.
Daniel?
Yeah, I didn't have to think about this one too much. I think it's under too. I'll be rooting for Colin Gillespie, Villanova guy. He's going to get an opportunity. But
he sure is.
It's just like Booker and some other guys at the moment. Under, easy.
This team's going to be real bad, folks. And I bet Houston is just licking its chops looking at what Devin Booker is going to be doing this year. Under, hard for the Phoenix Suns. The Portland Trailblazers had kind of an interesting offseason. They acquired Drew Holiday. They brought Damian Lillard back, even though he's probably not going to play a single game for them. And they added some pieces in the draft as well, among other things. Let's see. Young Hansen, who is getting a lot of rave reviews at Summer League. There's Scoot Henderson. There's some other young talent. What do we think about an intriguing Portland Trailblazers team that Vegas has at 32.5 wins? They won 36 last year. Clemente.
I think this is an easy over for me. Like, the Blazers were one of the better teams in the West after the All-Star break. They almost made a play and push there at the end, but their record was just they're just too deep in the hole to really get out of. But I really like what Portland did halfway through the season last year. It really felt like Chauncey Billups got everything ready or got everything right with them. And I don't know, I'm still a huge Scoot Henderson believer. I haven't left that ship yet. And like you said with Victor, like, year free is when you find out whether or not a guy's is made for this league. So I'll definitely go over with the expectation that Scoot finally gets it all together.
JQ, what do you think? They've got Donovan Clingan. That's a UConn guy.
Yeah, that pretty much marks me as an optimist for any team with such a player on them, and that is true in this case. Oddly enough, I think the addition of Drew with the subtraction of Anthony Simons really opens up some opportunities for the younger players to start developing in the backcourt. To your Scoot Henderson point, Clemente, I am also a believer. I think he just really needs more opportunity. And he's going to get it now. I think this team, I'm still a little curious to see how this young Hansen thing works in the front court. But with Klingon in the back court and Tumani Camera helping, I think this team is going to be about a 40-win team in the West, maybe 38 at the worst. So pretty strong over, in my opinion.
Daniel, what do you got for the Blazers?
Yeah, the West is tough, and I'm going to say over too. Maybe I'm biased, but I really like Drew Holiday. I really like that addition. Robert Williams is hopefully pretty healthy. We'll see. And Shaedon Sharp is a really underrated guy, and I think he's going to take another leap. They have more hope and they have more reason to win than they've had in the last few seasons. So yeah, easy over.
They also have a new owner who seems awfully competitive and like he wants to win games. Over. Team's better. I think they're going to be in the play-in zone if they stay healthy. They're going to be a fun watch. We got 2 more teams to talk about, and I'm guessing we don't have a whole lot to say about them. What's going on with the Sacramento Kings? Nobody ever knows about that. Let's see. DeMar DeRozan is still here. Zach LaVine is still here. They added Doug McDermott. Malik Monk is in a holding pattern. Dario Saric is on this team now, along with Dennis Schroeder. They're flirting with Russell Westbrook. They're flirting with Jonathan Kuminga. Domantas Sabonis is still here, just holding it down. The Sacramento Kings are projected to win 36.5 games, and last year they won 40. Clemente, real quick, what's going on with the Kings?
That's a really good number, 36.5. I think it'll slide over. I think they'll win 37, 38 wins. It'll be another season where, they're right there in the play-in range, playoff range. But yeah, I mean, they got a lot of household names. It's just that the bad news is a lot of them are their best years are kind of behind them.
JQ?
Nick Clifford, Keon Ellis, Dennis Schroeder, Keegan Murray, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Malik Monk, all kind of play in the backcourt, and that is where pretty much all of their talent is. If they get the Kuminga trade done, I would be supportive of this line, but I think I'm a pretty hard under. I think that they are like a 32-ish win team with this roster.
Daniel, Sacramento Kings, over or under?
I'm leaning towards slight over. Maybe this is a team where on paper it seems a little better than actually seeing it on the court, but I'm not sure how people are going to get too excited about this team. I don't really see them going anywhere, over or under regardless.
It's a hard under for me, especially if they sign Russell Westbrook and trade for Jonathan Kuminga. Folks, there is only one basketball allowed in a regulation NBA game, and pretty much everybody on the Kings needs the ball in their hands to be effective, except for Keon Ellis, who is going to have to be tasked with being the only good defender on this team. I do not think this team is very good. I am going to go under. I think they are lottery bound yet again in Sacktown. Speaking of lottery bound, we will conclude, of course, with the Utah Jazz. Vegas has them at the lowest over-under total in the Western Conference, 18.5, which would be right around where they were last year when they won 17 games. Notable offseason additions include Kevin Love, who is still in the NBA, along with Yusuf Nurkic and George Niang. Notable departures include the aforementioned John Collins, among other things. Guys, here we are. It's the Utah Jazz. Over under 18.5 wins.
Good luck to Celtics legend George Niang, but I said under too.
Clemente?
Yeah, I think this is an easy under. I mean, the Jazz, they're bad. They're going to tank. Shout out Elijah Harkless, though, two-way player. I went to a OU class with him back in the day. But, yeah, they're going to be a bad team.
I unfortunately am not buying the Kyle Filipowski hype from Summer League. This team is terrible. They want to be terrible. They're going to be maybe the worst team in the league. Utah Jazz are under 18.5 wins. That concludes a look at the Western Conference over-unders and a closer look with Clemente Almanza of OKC Thunder Wire. Anything to plug, Clemente, before we get on out of here?
I mean, just follow along with OKC Thunder Wire. Still doing daily content there, even in this dry period of the NBA calendar. Before you know it, media day is going to be kicking off here in a little over a month, but in training camp, preseason, and we'll get right back to the grind of the regular season here pretty soon. So yeah, just follow along OKC Thunder Wire. Follow me on Twitter at CAlmanza1007. And yeah, just kind of if you're wondering how the NBA champions are doing, definitely check out my content and Twitter page.
Daniel, where can we find your stuff?
Yeah, as always, Daniel D1214 on Twitter. just Google my name. Will come up with stuff from Clutch Points and Celtics Wire too.
JQ, what about you?
Well, you either did or that Celtics Wire place as per usual.
And you can find my stuff, on my Blue Sky page or my Instagram page, where you'll see a lot of lovely photos of me getting engaged. Or you can follow Divine Sweater, which is way more interesting. They're a rock band that I am in, and we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff, speaking of Western Conference, out there in the West pretty soon. And we will close, as always, with something to remember or something to forget. Clemente, this can be basketball related, Thunder related, Celtics related, or just what's going on in your life related. Something to remember or something to forget to close out the pod.
Well, I would just say, school starting here for mostly for everybody really around the country, whether in high school, elementary, college, or whatever. Just kind of enjoy. Just kind of being around. I've kind of enjoyed just being around my family for sure. I haven't really had a chance to kind of do that during the playoffs, and it's just been super chill to just kind of be able to relax here a little bit. So definitely enjoy just kind of being around, I guess, your siblings and your family and all that, because that's one of those things in life where you might take it granted for the moment, but whenever you're not around them a ton, you definitely end up kind of missing them for sure. So yeah.
Dr. Quinn, something to remember, something to forget.
So it seems we may have collectively forgotten it. So I would just like to remind us about this thing called the Posse Comitatus Act. For no apparent reason. Just putting it out there. If
just
you
putting
don't
it
know
out
what
there.
it is, go read about it. It's very important. I'm not going to talk about why, but if you look it up, Posse, Posse, Comitatus, Comitatus. Posse Comitatus. Look it up. That's
To our dear listeners, please leave us a good review. Daniel, something to remember, something to forget.
Well, quickly, something to forget. Just this lull for the Celtics recently. Like, man, there's been no news. Tatum got a new haircut. Like, dang. And then something to remember. Just the NBA I grew up with. Like, I saw a post from the NBA today wishing Harden a happy birthday. He turned 36, I think. And I'm just like, dang, John Wall retired. Everyone's getting old. Like, LeBron's 41, Chris Paul's 40, Curry's 37. Like, wow. Give it a few years.
All my guys.
Yeah, it's going to look very, very different. But I'm thankful that was the era I came up with.
Those are all my guys. That was all my generation. Now I'm getting nostalgic. I'm going to remember the notes that I have to play at band practice where I'm heading right after this. This has been another episode of Havlicek Stole the Pod. Thanks for listening. Leave us a review. We'll see you later.